Happy Friday to you.
Get the cliches out of the way early.
Um, yeah. How's the weather at your end?
Yeah, how do you come down on like the formalities of conversation? Do you get bored with it? I mean, it's a necessity, but do you get
No,
bored
it's like
doing it?
saying I don't notice it. I, I mean, do I launch into a lot of conversations without any formalities and just start talking? Yeah, that happens. But I would say that I don't think at all about the formality. It's is saying hello and good morning a formality? If so, I mean, so it goes. The conversational, no, like thing, same thing for me in conversation. It's in one ear, out the other. I don't want it to be long. I'll say that.
Yeah. I've got like a few sentences in me on formalities, like the weather and that sort of thing, and then it's got to go to something that matters.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'll meet somebody and they'll say, "Oh, hi, I'm so and so. I do this or that," and my response is just, "Hey, I'm Russ. What's your biggest fear in the world?"
I just say hello and tell me your favorite song lyrics. That's what I like to ask.
You know how I would answer this? I would say I don't listen to lyrics, and that's going to be a problem. But it's not going to be a problem. But I am lyric blind or deaf, probably deaf. I listen to a song for what it sounds like, and I rarely remember or internalize lyrics. It's a part of a song it always surprises me to be reminded that songs are poetic.
Well, you better have a knapsack full of lyrics with you today.
I
That's
have
all I
three
can say.
categories.
All right.
Also, I also overcomplicated this. Undercomplicated, I was gonna look them up, and I was gonna say, "Oh, let me bring some full lyrics here," and then I thought, if the whole point of this is that I'm not internalizing the lyrics, why go look them up? Let's
Well,
pick apart my memory of the lyrics, which will be even better.
I have lyrics. So let's lay the groundwork. This
Yeah,
is
rules.
yeah. I think we approach this differently. We'll see if we should be ever left to our own devices for Friday Fun Day again, or if there needs to be an edict on how we approach it. Anyway, we today are not gas bagging about anything that's relevant. We're talking about song lyrics, and here's how I approached it. Sounds like you mailed this one in, but here's how I approached it. I took two songs that I think I would consider. One is the best song ever written. It's the best pen to paper compilation ever in the history of pen to paper or finger to keyboard.
Okay, I have two questions based on that claim.
All right.
Will anyone have ever heard of this song?
Of course.
Okay, and number two, uh, is it the day the music died?
Oh God. No.
Okay, those are my
I'm
only
just
two questions.
this is a time when I have to express my displeasure with the fact that Kenny G does not have lyrics, because I would be
Mm.
bringing in a Kenny G. I almost wrote lyrics to a Kenny G song, and just this was how this was going to go. Maybe that's another day.
Yeah, don't do that. That's not a good use of your time. I mean, I have lyrics that are meaningful to me, and I have
I've got to
artists.
finish. I've got
Is
to
there a second
finish.
piece of the rule?
Yeah.
I
So
thought
I
there was
did.
only one rule.
I have parallel things here. So I have
Okay.
two songs where they're brilliantly written.
Mm-hmm.
One, I think a lot of people will know. I know they'll know the artist, and then the other is more obscure. Best country music song ever written, hands down. Then I took two um, top 40 songs. I've never not known anything less than I know the top 40 artists of probably the past 15 years. So I picked not just to be the old man screaming at people to get off his lawn. I picked today the 2023 top 40 randomly landed on someone called Doja Cat.
Doja
Uh,
Cat.
yeah, never heard of. So I grabbed one of Doja Cat's his or her songs.
Her.
Her Doja Cat, her songs. That makes sense given the lyrics, I guess.
We can't say the lyrics of her top 40 hits.
It
And we don't
wasn't.
have to. We don't have to say them, but we're not allowed. I know that we cannot say the lyrics.
Well, I don't. This one's not bad. Like it.
Okay.
I mean, it's bad, but
Maybe
it's
it's not
not.
the song I'm thinking of.
And so, just not to be a home team time wise decade guy. I went to 1983 and picked the top 40 from the week ending September, whatever this is, and found I didn't know all those songs. I didn't know a lot of them actually,
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say I would have as much of a hard time naming those songs as recognizing the top 100 of Terry's most favorite lyrics.
yeah. So found a band called Taco.
Okay. Today I learned they exist.
Yeah, same here. Same here. And we're gonna read through Taco's hit from 1983. I
Can we
forget what
start
it's
with
called.
Taco?
Sure. I want to hear your rules first. Like, how did you approach this?
My approach was I was supposed to be coming up with best and worst lyrics. So I thought about lyrics that I could remember across all music that I listened to and doing it. I mean, the whole point of doing it from memory was this was not supposed to be a fresh exercise. I'm supposed to be illustrating to you just how how I approach the lyrics. And I think it'll tell you a lot.
So you're also trying to shame me for my approach. I see.
No, I don't think so. I think the shame I'm trying to shame you for is I think the thing I'm trying to shame you for is assuming that I would do this exercise in any way similar to the way you would,
Yeah,
or that my approach or understanding of lyrics was even in the same universe as yours necessarily.
but you're also like an English guy. Like you're a writer.
I see the irony of what you're talking about here,
Yeah.
but it's not going to change how I feel about song lyrics.
Taco's song is Puttin in apostrophe Puttin on the Ritz.
Oh, I've heard this. This is a novelty song.
It is?
Well, I mean, it's like so. It's not the old Putting on the Ritz from the 30s, but they basically did like a modern, goofy, 1983 synthesizer update to it that turned it into a dance bop.
Oh,
I
so this
mean,
is
a
this is a
contemporary dance bop.
this is a cover?
That's a cover.
Irving Berlin wrote the song.
Yeah, it's like a classic show tune. Putting on the Ritz. That's the only
Oh,
line I know.
well, I show my ignorance.
Of two generations of popular music all at once.
Yeah.
You missed Taco and you missed Irving Berlin as well. One of
Well,
those people will respect you, okay, for not knowing at all.
you didn't know Taco either.
Not, but when you say Putting on the Ritz, I am aware of a 1980s Putting on the Ritz existing. I mean, I don't know the song well, and if it wasn't a cover, I wouldn't be aware of it. It's like it's kind of from the same vein as uh, Van Halen when they covered Pretty Woman. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was still Pretty Woman, but it was also an 80s glam metal song when they covered it. This was still Putting on the Ritz, an Irving Berlin tune, but add, I don't know, Air Supply or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, let's
So there's
switch
your
in.
taco.
We're gonna switch in mid course here because also, uh, making love out of nothing at all. Air Supply was the number 5 song
Yeah.
this week.
See, I'm not that far off.
Should we dive into those lyrics?
What's the name of this song again?
Taco?
No, no, the Air Supply song.
Oh, making
Making love
love.
out of nothing at all.
Yeah.
Okay. I would know that song to hear it, but I probably won't know it by the lyrics.
I think we should get into that one.
I feel like I would know it from the wailing in the middle of the chorus.
Is there whaling? I mean, I have heard of Air Supply, and I'm sure I've heard a couple of the big hits, but
I don't know what Air Supply's big hits would be. I'm assuming counts as one of their big hits, given that it
yeah,
was at the top of the charts, the literal top of a literal chart.
I know just how to whisper.
You're not going to make it very far.
I'm not. Stop. And I know just how to cry.
What's the last word? The last line? It's got to be all. It's got to be nothing at all. It's the last line.
Love. Twice. It's the dyad. Love, love. Making love, love, love. All right. What's the last verse lyric? It just looks like stadiums rock. Well, let's pick a few here. I can make the runner stumble. I can make the final block. And I can make every tackle at the sound of the whistle. I can make the stadiums rock.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear a single word of the last line because you were laughing too hard.
I can make the runner stumble.
No, I got the runner stumble and the block and the very last line I missed.
I can make every tackle at the sound of the whistle, and I can make all the stadiums rock.
Oh, man.
That's good. It's good. I mean, that's the beating of my heart. This sounds like the Theranos, you know, the what's her name? Elizabeth something Holmes,
Elizabeth
maybe?
Holmes, yeah.
This sounds, did you ever see the text message that she sent to one of the money guys?
Yeah, something like it was paraphrasing this song.
Basically.
Yeah.
His response is one of the best things ever too. He was like, okay. Literally, that was his response. Anyway, this verse is the beating. This is way too funny to me. I don't know why.
Well, there's no way somebody sat down and wrote these words without some sense of a tune in their mind. They're way too over the top when you don't have the music to make it seem like, oh, this is normal.
So what age group? Okay, this is chat. If this is Chat GPT output, like who is like what age group is prompting for these lyrics? Is this little kid? Is this over 60? Like if this were
a 51-year-old, just they're like alone, feeling a little bit paunchy. They were gonna go scrub their deck, but now they're getting wistful about a bygone era with a screaming eagle thunderbird.
The beating of my heart is a drum, and it's lost, and it's looking for a rhythm like you.
I mean, looking for a rhythm like you as a pop lyric is not a bad choice of things to write down. It does not hold up to the scrutiny of being read on a podcast silently by you. But as a pop lyric, you know, a swelling end of verse popular song lyric, like a ballady thing. Yeah, sure. Okay. I mean, fine.
Here we go. And I can make tonight forever, or I can make it disappear by the dawn, and I can make your every promise that has ever been made. This doesn't even make sense.
Does it need to?
Well, hold on. Listen. Okay, and I can make tonight forever.
Yeah.
Or I can make it disappear by the dawn.
That kind of seems good.
All right. And I can make you every promise that has ever been made.
Sounds pretty good.
And I can make all your demons be gone.
I think that says more about the songwriter than the target audience or the target of the lyric.
Yeah, that's good. That's enough. It's bad.
Yeah. Can we just move on to the next song?
Yeah, you're up. I think we should rotate. Like, don't.
Okay, I have. Are we doing bads or goods?
Your call. Dealer's choice.
So all of the lyrics I thought of were good in some regard, but then some of them were also Some maybe like what we just went through with Air Supply. Some of them are also objectively bad. Uh, so my first bad is a Flaming Lips song called "There Should Be Unicorns," and I'm
How,
like,
how do you come down on them, by the way? Like, I think Yoshimi's one of just a
it's a
great record.
huge catalog,
Yeah,
so I think a lot of their stuff stinks, and I also think that they've put out a lot of music that they shouldn't have put out because it should have stayed on a like it should have stayed on the cutting room floor, or it should have been on a they put out a bunch of like unreleased stuff that is even worse than the worst of the stuff that they do release. I so they make a lot of trash, but I also like a lot of their songs a lot.
same.
But I have very strong opinions about all Flaming Lips lyrics because they only have two speeds. They only have like fake contemplative and uh like superficially silly, but then somehow supposed to seem deep. Those are the only two styles of lyrics I see out of that band.
That's 98% of music.
But I mean, there should be unicorns. It's not. There's no. It's not like a cheap sex or drugs song.
Mm.
Particularly, I mean, I guess it's a drugs song in the sense that imagining the unicorns is also supposed to be. You're supposed to be high for that, but the song just reminded me of being a 5-year-old boy who's like laying out the instructions for how things ought to be, and one of the things I say is there ought to be unicorns, and then so as a lyric that makes me think about it. So the lyric is there should be unicorns, the ones with the purple eyes, not the green eyes, and that's the whole lyric, right? And if it's supposed to make me think something psychedelic, it doesn't particularly do that. Maybe the music does, but again, the lyric makes me think about you know a little dictator, pointing his finger about no purple eyes, not green eyes. Leave the green eyes. I want the purple eyes, and I'm like, well, that's really evocative, and I don't think it's at all what was intended by the song or that lyric.
So I took a turn with the Flaming Lips when like there was a big thing about how the drummer had a and the drummer to me made the band. The drummer's snare recording, the way he played, like I loved the drummer. And didn't I don't know the personal lives of very many artists at all, but there was a big story about how and I forget what the roles were, but the drummer made a comment about the political establishment of Oklahoma where they're from, and apparently Wayne, the front guy, didn't like the comment, so he fired the drummer. Like the longtime drummer of the band fired the drummer, and
I mean, Wayne Coyne has repeatedly demonstrated really childish, destructive, sometimes illegal, idiotic behavior. I mean, he's not a good person. If you judge by any of his actions, he is probably a terrible person.
so I don't know that, but I gather that he's one of those moralistic artists that you know I've come to detest over the past few years.
You should not like that guy.
Okay.
I mean, I still listen to their music. You shouldn't like that guy. I mean, he didn't murder anybody, but not a good person, not a good role model. You really have to like separate the music from the man.
So I'm thinking intellectually flimsy. You're saying like trash character.
No, yeah, he's done a lot of bad stuff. Yeah,
You want to throw any of those things out into the
no, just
ether?
Google
Or,
it. Google
okay,
it.
all
I'm
right.
not. I'm not going to do uh, paparazzi style reporting on the comings and goings of Wayne Coyne. It's well documented, and you won't have a hard time finding anything
All right.
unless it's in like the Oklahoma City Times because they love that guy.
Well, maybe that was why they fired the drummer.
Yeah. Another Flaming Lips lyric that was on my list was, and this is probably not. I wouldn't call this bad. It's the song is "Do You Realize,"
Yeah.
and the I don't know the whole song. Again, the point of this was to remember which lyrics I did remember. So the lyrics I remember Do you realize that everyone you know one day will die? Do you realize the oh,
Happiness makes you
happiness
cry.
makes you cry? Yeah, a bunch of other things like that. And then the the chorus is like, "There's." Do you realize that the sun never really sets? It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning round. I thought these are lyrics that are poetic, and they were like novel to me in the way that they were written, and they were meaningful, and all of that is irrelevant to me outside of the actual song itself. Like I can't just read that. Read If I read that as a poem, it would be a pretty good poem, but I don't like poetry that much. And if it's in the song, I'm I cannot separate the corny, cheesy, over the top music of that song combined with this like pretty fresh, poignant take on, you know, on apathy and and nihilism.
I think that record plays really well top to bottom though.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, well,
And
and in the context of when you take two things that I don't like or that wouldn't really work for me, which is a preachy theatrical song and lyrics that are very poetic, but again, I'm not picking that much up from the lyrics, so expecting that to help the song. You put them two together, and they're kind of like they go better together than they did apart. And in the context of the rest of the album, it's like this fits great.
it
So again,
it's
I can't pick apart the pieces of the song that way.
it's interesting to me because I don't make it through bad lyrics.
Yeah,
Like
that's understand. Like you're not going to listen to Air Supply.
the lyrics are the song to me. I can listen
Yeah.
to a song and be like, all right, I see what they're doing musically. And there are a bunch of those probably. Like I dig this. This is, this is cool, but a song's not going to land with me if it's trash lyrics.
What's the simplest, most popular type of lyric that you wouldn't like?
Oh, love songs.
Mm,
I can't
yeah.
stand. Like I don't like relationship music at all.
This is why you didn't like making love out of nothing at all.
It, I mean, you have to admit when you get
I
to
know how to whisper.
the point in a love song where you're making someone's demons be gone, where are you? I mean, what level of hell has your mind entered from a
Do you
songwriting
do you
perspective?
like foreigner lyrics?
I don't know. I mean, I know the band, and I'm sure I would is he a real high pitched one of those
Yeah.
clones of?
Hot blooded, check it and
Okay,
see. I
so
got a fever of 103.
so a Rush clone then, because I feel like there are these iconic bands, and we had.
Mm, Foreigner is it, Rush is clearly progressive rock, and for like not to be a genre obsessionist here, but Rush is very solidly in progressive rock because of the whole way they make music, and then Foreigner is more if you make slightly progressive pop rock.
Yeah,
There's some riffy stuff that's similar between them. I don't know. Rush is way nerdier and dorkier, and their tone is more, nerdy sounding and supposed to sound futuristic,
I can't
which
handle Geddy Lee's voice.
I don't like anything about Rush. Their songs are technically good, and I don't like anything about Rush.
Yeah,
I
everybody throws obviously Neil Peart into
yeah,
the best drummer ever discussion, and just doesn't. I don't know. I think John Bonham is one of those that's not a jazzer.
yeah.
Like he's not going to hit a million things 1,000 times in the course of playing, but for me, he's a rock drummer, just phenomenal because he beats the crap out of everything. They're like sort of weird rhythms or weird signatures. I really like John Bonham, but
Speak, Speaking about drummers, how do you feel about Phil Collins lyrics?
oh god, so interesting. The song "In the Air Tonight."
Yeah.
I remember my aunt telling me, and I remember this vividly. Like we were driving at night with my mom, my brother, me, my mom, and my aunt. My mom and my aunt in the front seat. my brother and I in the backseat of a red Ford Granada, by the way. I remember the car. Uh, it was dark. She told this story about, the whole drowning thing.
Uh-huh.
And uh, that was the story that I was left with that song from early childhood for a lot of years until I found out that that story is not true.
Okay.
So,
So you took a different take of that song, of those song lyrics.
yeah, I still don't know the truth of the song. I mean, I could like take 10 seconds and look it up probably, but I just haven't done it. I
I
think,
mean, I wouldn't bother. So I know that song, and I know a handful of other Peter Gabriel songs. And I think that again, I'm not sure that this is one where I don't think I could remember most of the lyrics. Like I'm not sure what I could tell you the vibe of coming in the air tonight or in the air tonight very easily. I can repeat back all the words.
well, if you
Other
told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand.
Yeah,
Something, something, face before, something, something.
I'd be mostly something somethings.
Yeah.
And then I just remember the drum hits.
Are there, yeah, for sure. Are there, do you think there are eras that are superior? Maybe not full decades, but eras that are superior from a lyric perspective?
Mm, no, I think it's across type of music more. So somebody has been writing really heartfelt music somewhere forever, and somebody has been writing really danceable, digestible music somewhere forever. And like you can't carve it up into, you know, any genre other than sort of like pop music and most other things. So it's either the music that everybody's heard, or it's the music or any other music. Those are kind of the only choices when you want to split it up that way.
I guess I should have specified in the question. Do you think there are eras of pop music with lyrics that are better than others?
Not at all. I think it's been very stable since the first radios. I
Even
think
the
the lyric,
60s?
yeah, they're not better. The '60s had some music that was, it had some protesty ish stuff accidentally become popular. But no, it's not. The '60s aren't better.
I think the 60s were firmly entrenched in the time period where nothing accidentally becomes popular.
Uh,
I think it's
yeah, I mean
chosen.
that's fair, I guess. I mean, there it's like the protest. There was definitely not a decade of lyrics where that degree of explicit sort of social consciousness and a very specific messaging was frequently making it into music that was pretty popular. And then it kind of divided up after like 1969 or so. Then you had sort of, like rock music came into its own in a whole different way. And then it was like if you're gonna have the stuff that's more risky or more risque, that goes in the rock music. And if you're gonna have the stuff that's, still just giving people what they want to hear to bop along to, that's still gonna go to the pop music, like always.
I think that would be an interesting case study of what you just mentioned from the 60s regarding social consciousness. And I think that was where the parallel between the anti-war movement and popular culture slash
Hmm.
music merged. But that's not by chance. And I read an essay on this not long ago that was the anti-war movement originally were Brooks Brothers type guys
Hmm.
and gals, clean cut business types, and the the powers that be didn't want that group to be the anti-war face. So to rush them off of that trail, they gave it to the druggies and the hippies and made it uncool to be associated with that movement via popular culture. So it leaves me with a granted from a position of ignorance because none of us knows, but it leaves me with a different view of music from that time period than I had before having read that essay.
Yeah, I mean, the machinations of social control exist in every
For
decade.
sure. For sure.
So I think that it was a turbulent time, but thinking about popular music around the same time as the LA riots in the early '90s and how that associated with popular music of the time and what was on the radio and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of examples where you know when 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 times are fractious or when times are um, you know dramatic or something like that, then that makes its way into the arts as well. Very clearly.
So I have to say, 1 minute detour. I agree with what you just said, that there are manipulations via popular culture of public opinion. And
Hmm.
I think that's a safe statement. And not that it shouldn't be the case. It's not a value judgment, it's an assessment. I think if there's a hall of fame for whoever it is that does that manipulation via artists and musicians, that the past 3 years, they get a wing dedicated to them in the hall of fame. Like because the flip, we're talking about the 60s as a counterculture area. That was the sort of that was the birth of, and it goes back beyond that, obviously, but that was more roots oriented. A lot of the sort of the roots music of the 40s and earlier time periods were associated with anti-war
Hmm.
messaging, but they were on the fringe
Yeah.
and weren't in popular culture. This was clearly tying popular music and culture and movies and lifestyle, pop culture, to the anti-war movement. Well, however, we got, what was it, 60 years later, the past 3 years, um, that has flipped. And whoever, at least this is what I see in my circle, and I see if I pay attention to the broader art and musician, throwing actors, actresses, comedians, well, some comedians into that category. That script is flipped, and whoever is responsible for flipping that script, Hall of Fame, like first ballot Hall of Fame. They remarkable job
Of doing what?
flipping artists. And like, now granted, they're probably as intellectually flimsy as anybody else, but that has been one of the tenets of an artist or a musician for a long time, is vehemence to vehemently anti-war in certain sectors in the corporate world. Pharma, banking, choose that
Hmm.
those have been deeply held tenets of the artist community for decades, since
Yeah.
the 60s.
Yeah.
And it's not the case anymore.
So what are artists in favor of now that they weren't in favor of in the '60s or in
just
between?
just go back through current events, the big current events of the past few years, and look at where the art and musician and actor community comes down on the big issues, the big war issues, the big social issues. And again, I'm not making a value assessment or a value judgment uh, of whether this should be or shouldn't be the case. I'm just saying this has flipped. This is not the 60s, clearly, in the pop culture world.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is a relationship for any given era between uh, like how politics are treated in pop culture, and there are eras where it's very quiet. Eras where Air Supply is dominating the charts.
Yeah, but there was still room for John Lydon and bands like, I mean, you still had, you'd be hard, at least I haven't seen, you'd be hard pressed to find. There were a lot of them in the 2000s, even in equally troubling times geopolitically. There were a lot of artists and musicians, some that I really like, that still made protest pieces, um, but not today.
But you don't know any pop music today.
Uh,
You're making it a point of pride that you don't know any pop music. So that means that you don't know that there's not any protest songs.
by
You
by
you
popular
can't possibly know.
By popular culture, I mean old person popular culture, like NPR type stuff.
I mean, like I just you make a new argument that is, there's that there's not a persistent persuasive case of seeing protest movements where you can't avoid it. You know what I mean? So like any the song you hear, any song you hear, there's a protester walking down the street, or there's a song in the grocery store, and you're like, dang, those protesters again. I mean, I don't. There's definitely nothing that's like that now.
As an example, I've mentioned Sunvolt before. I'm a huge fan, have been for a lot of years. Jay Farrar wrote a record in like '05 or '07 in the heart of different political times. Equally as challenging, I would suggest, but wrote a protest record called Okima and the Melody of Riot. Where is that record today?
I but I
From any of those types.
for Sunvolt, I mean, this is a band that's not like universally known. So if all you're asking me to do is go dig up a current protest album, it still exists. And you're comparing, oh, here's a protest album that somebody wrote that was not a popular, like it was not it didn't chart, and then ask me to find a protest song now that also didn't chart. Of course, I can go find a protest song that didn't chart in either of these two eras. It's totally meaningless. You'd have to find me a protest song from 2005 that also charted, and then I can go look and say, well, that's missing now.
So here's your task: a U.S. album and song that is challenging the some of the events of the past few years.
So any year,
The 2020 through 2000 through today.
and it just has to be a record challenging current events.
Yeah, a protest record or a
protest
song.
record from the last 3 years, and all it has to do is exist.
And not like social stuff, like the big power structures of the country.
You can't put a criteria like that where it's a subjective interpretation, and you're just going to say Sunvolt's lyrics. Sunvolt was attacking this, and the thing I found is attacking something else because it's your criteria.
Say war then.
So an anti-war album written in the last 3 years. That's all I have to do.
Correct.
Any amount of popularity.
I mean, yeah. Sunvolt equivalent. Like they could make it.
There's no way of knowing, looking backwards, how well known or how close to the top 40 Sunvolt was.
Someone that has been played.
Did they make it to CMJ?
Somewhat CMJ. Oh yeah, somewhat, and someone that NPR would play.
I have to pay $500 or something to get the CMJ listing now in order to actually do this research. I'm not going to do that.
I used to get so much good music from CMJ.
That's what it was there for, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to look up a protest album, but I am going to ask the internet for protest albums from the last 3 years. Of course, there's always a protest album. Always.
I know what but I'm saying not against the big power structures of society.
Well, of course I can't find that, because defining an album's intention as against the big power structures in society is open to Terry's interpretation. What you're asking for is an album that you will validate with your view of both the interpretation and the definition of big power structures. So I have to find an album that you like, is what you're asking me to do. And I can't do that. I could find a protest album, but I can't find one you like.
Protest against, just see what you find. See what you find.
Yeah, but I don't want to come back here and be like, protest song, protest song, protest song, protest song. Oh, look, I found the next, Bulls on Parade, but also it's not popular. I found the next What's Going On, but like nobody's heard of it. And then you're like, yeah, but those were different. I know how this is going to go. It's going to be those are different. And that's going to be the comeback.
This is okay. Here's my prediction.
Yeah.
If you do find a protest album from the past 3 years,
yeah,
it's going to be some hacky cultural crap, the current eventy cultural stuff that nobody, it has person pitted against person, not person pitted against power structure.
How far
That's
back are you going? The
3 years.
Sunvolt album was 2005.
2005 or 2007. I can't remember.
Hold on. I got to look up an album.
While you're
yeah,
doing,
okay. So this I wasn't going to use this one because it's pretty new by the standards of 2005. But the definitely protest album 2014. It was popular. Black Messiah by D'Angelo.
2014.
Yeah, a very much protest album, and also just one of the best albums ever.
2020 to 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have one on hand for the last 3 years. I have one on hand for 10 years newer than the Sunvolt song, and clearly more popular than the Sunvolt release. Also,
Of course, but still
This is an Emmy winning, or sorry, wrong award. This is a Grammy winning album that was definitely a protest album.
a protest of what?
Mostly Black Lives Matter things.
Is it my turn for a good song lyric?
It can be your turn for a good song lyric, but you got to go listen to the Vanguard, D'Angelo and the Vanguard's Black Messiah. Not this second, but you got to go listen to it. You're gonna like this one. It was produced on all analog gear, the whole thing, like all vintage analog gear. It's a full band in the studio. If I had not told you that it won a Grammy, you'd have been like, "Who is this guy? This stuff is great." But yeah, you'll love it if you've really never heard it, any of it.
I know the name D'Angelo, but I was thinking it was the bass player that played with Mellencamp on the Rolling Stones.
That seems totally feasible. That it's not the same person. No, this guy's young.
Okay.
Younger than that. He had a big R&B hit. How Does It Feel? A long time ago, like in the 90s, and then he disappeared from public view for a long time. Then he came back in this like immaculately recorded album.
Who produced the album?
Who produced the album? Is that on? That's going to be on here. He produced it himself. Yeah, he produced it himself.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was just a pretty good album, and then 10 years went by, and people started writing like retrospectives on the album and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, this album was a huge hit. And then I realized it also won a Grammy, and I'm like, oh, I'm listening to Grammy-winning music, I guess.
Yeah.
What's your next lyric coming up?
So I'll jump to the. I haven't done a good one yet. I have two good ones. I won't read all this. It's a 7-minute song. I mean, a little bit of this is like saying that the sun is out, but this is a Bob Dylan song. He won a Nobel Prize, obviously. I think this song is.
I'm glad you have a Dylan song on here.
It's all right, Ma. It's on. What's the rest of it? I'm Only Bleeding. It's I think it's hands down the best thing I've ever read. Like, independent of music, it's brilliant. And I'll only read one verse. I did a little cover of this verse just because I felt like lightning should strike me at some point. Advertising signs that con you into thinking you are the one that can do what's never been done, that can win what's never been won. Meantime, life outside goes on all around you. Every verse, like there are only, I think, 3 or 4 spots where he does the chorus. Every verse on here is brilliant. Every word is brilliant. It is. I don't know that anyone will ever craft a song written as well as this. It is exceptional.
Do you think he's an alien sent from space to give us song lyrics that are out of this world.
He's still alive too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there are some songs of his. Obviously, I like almost everything that he's done. There are some songs of his that there. I respect the process, the power, but it doesn't land with me. It doesn't resonate with me. This song is
Well, it's a good thing you
amazing.
brought this up because Bob Dylan is the counterpoint to me saying I don't listen to lyrics. So if you take the extreme end of a song, so if you have instrumental at one end, there are no lyrics. Then just past that, you would have oohs, ahs, hms, heh, hays. Not scat, it's not like a verse of this stuff, but just sort of accent lyrics thrown in as you wouldn't even call it lyrics, you'd call it vocals, not lyrics, right? Because it's not even words. Then you have songs that are just a couple words, uh, and not much else, or just repeating the chorus a whole bunch of times. And then you have on the total other end of that scale, then you have Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And it's not because of how much words are in there, but if I treat an instrumental song as I don't think about lyrics at all, then I hear a Bob Dylan song and I'm like, "Oh, that's why lyrics are included in songs." I wonder if all the songs have lyrics for the same reason that these Bob Dylan songs have lyrics. And I don't think, I mean, other than is it not bad? I don't think about Bob Dylan's music or arrangement very much either.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about his lyrics.
Yeah. And how brilliant they are. Who is just this side of Bob Dylan for you?
See, it falls off a cliff. I'm like, why can't I name another well-known lyrics writer? I mean, I remember a lot of Beatles lyrics, but that's not at all the same. That's not the answer to your question.
That's
That's
because they're nursery rhymes.
yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have nobody to the side of Bob Dylan.
I
That's the
have
thing.
I have almost there. Towns Van Sant. I'm a
Yeah, that's fair.
huge Towns Van Sant fan. Um,
Here's the question though. How did I end up even knowing about Bob Dylan's music if I'm so anti-lyrics? I'm so anti-lyrics in terms of my internalizing of it that I can't name you the next best, the next most lyrical, bass music. And there's probably some country or old blues or something like that would be what I would be thinking about next. I'm picturing like mostly guitar, maybe a little bit of drums, probably an acoustic artist, that I think about all older country music. Yeah, okay. Yeah, these lyrics sound great. But that still doesn't get me to next to Bob Dylan.
yeah, I agree. But that's like saying, um, I mean, that's a dumb analogy. Like who is just this side of Michael Jordan? Obviously, there are a few of those candidates, but I think they're similar in that respect. The best to do whatever have ever done what they do.
You could probably say that next to Michael Jordan in baseball is Terry.
No, well, actually, he wasn't he wasn't a special baseball player, but we played different positions. So
So it's dodging the comparison.
yeah, I bet I threw harder than he did.
That's almost certainly true.
Yeah. So what's you're up on a lyric?
Okay, so this is on trend, because I'm like racking my brains about if I can't get to what lyrics would. I didn't want to use the Beatles because it's a bunch of different authors, and I feel like it's been overplayed and overdiscussed and whatever. And you also dismissed it perfectly, right? It's their nursery rhymes, which fantastic. Goodbye Beatles. Now uh, I'm like, well, what other singing bands do I really like a lot or really stick with me? And I'm like, well, the Beach Boys
Hmm.
like stand out, but am I thinking about it because I got there by thinking about pop music. So I was thinking about Taylor Swift songs. I was thinking about like some rap songs. I was thinking about um, you know before the rock era pop music, like a generic pop song. And I'm like, okay, well, and that got me to the Beach Boys, which are about as close to, barbershop quartet pop music that I could really stomach. And the music, I feel like, has like boring, cheesy, repetitive, like 409, right? It's a song about an engine, and it's just like it's all just there because this is a thing that's cool now, and we surf and we dress the same, and everyone and their cousin likes this stuff. And I went to the beach earlier this summer, and Saturday night in the big bandstand, there's a or a Beach Boys tribute band, and it's like the perfect music to put in front of who knows who's going to show up here at a concert for free at the beach, aka music I don't ever want to put on.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay, so what's my favorite Beach Boys lyrics? And then I'm like, I like the Sloop John B, because
Mm.
it's but is it, I like that it's kind of a story. I like that it possibly has double or triple meanings. I like that I really like the harmonies. And then I'm like, okay, well, if I like the way the harmonies are related to the words. And now I'm stuck back in the same loop where do I like it because of the words? Do I like it because of the song? Right. So there's my non-answer. Answer is Sloop John B by the Beach Boys.
Great call. Great call. I love that song. It's it's like they were nursery rhymey, like the Beatles were nursery rhymey,
Hmm.
but there was a darkness with the Beach Boys. Like for me, even at young ages, I could tell that like the bubblegum veneer wasn't real. Like there was more dirt under the fingernails of the Beach Boys than what their music sounded like. That's why I like the Zombies too. It was edgier. I love that song though. That song is great.
As much as so, it's a little parable kind of song, and it's got a narrative through it. But the darkness, it's in that song. It's like all this bad stuff is happening, but the song doesn't quite feel dark or meditative until you get
Yeah.
to the very last line, where they're
Yeah.
like, "This is the worst trip I've ever been on,"
Yeah.
in 4-part harmony. And I'm like, I'm not sure they were talking about a boat.
No. Yeah. No. They certainly were not.
But
Who?
then the whole rest of the song plays it like there's nothing there that insinuates that it wouldn't just be a song about a boat and a guy got drunk on the boat, and that's it. Like, okay.
I think it was Andrew Bird, one of those types, covered that song in some way, and I'm trying to hear it, but that part sticks out because the way they did it.
You know the song
Um,
Rocky Raccoon
yeah.
off the White Album?
Yeah.
Rocky Raccoon went up to his room, something his rival.
Yeah.
He gets shot, and you know his rival was hot, and he drew first and shot, and Rocky slumped back in the corner. Okay,
Yeah.
so that song, it's good.
It's
I like
brilliant.
listening to
It's
it.
brilliantly written.
It's brilliantly written, but I don't feel this. It's cut from this very similar narrative cloth to the Sloop John B. But I also feel like I have a harder time getting to an insidious reading of Rocky Raccoon than an insidious reading of Sloop John B. And it's
Yeah.
because the rest of the White Album has like a bunch of trippy stuff on it and a bunch of stuff that's like a little out of left field. And even including Rocky Raccoon as this sort of like Western ballad in the middle of the rest of the album was a very creative choice designed to be, like creative and unexpected and a little off kilter. And there's nothing unexpected or off kilter about Sloop John B right up until you get to the worst trip we've ever been on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that song's great. That's an interesting one. I will be finding that at some point this afternoon.
Are there any narrative songs on? Is that what they're even called? When the song has a plot?
I think about what's the Gordon Lightfoot song.
Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah, that song.
Yeah.
It's well written, but it's more like it's a pub. It's a couple of drunk guys in a pub to me. Like
It's a place and a feeling.
yeah. But now Gordon Lightfoot has some other songs that I really really like. But Edmund Fitzgerald is a narrative song. Um, There are others.
Bob Seger wrote a bunch of them. Turn the Page, definitely.
So country music is full of those. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
country music.
Genre have a bunch of blind spots too.
I read an essay or a story, an article, whatever, about how Bob Dylan sort of dismisses country music writers, which doesn't make sense because he recorded with Johnny Cash, but dismisses country music writers because of that, like Tom T. Hall or, um, Tom T. Hall is a narrative writer very much, and he's a Kentucky guy. I love Tom T. Hall,
Hmm.
but um, dismisses a lot of country and sort of folk, not folk, obviously, but rootsy kind of hillbilly music because it's very narrative-y.
Well,
Um,
I mean, if your claim to fame is that, I mean, it's like Celine Dion saying she's not a huge fan of Bob Dylan's voice.
yeah,
Fine. I
yeah,
mean, okay. The
yeah,
point the point of the point of having a narrative song is we can't all write like Bob Dylan, so we use narrative and structure and familiarity and literal storytelling to cover the deficiencies in our ability to weave an allegory. You know,
no. So I want to get to, maybe we'll leave Doja
let's
or
leave Doja.
Doja.
It's Doja. Leave Doja Cat off
Yeah,
because I would be too focused on the production anyway, and the non musical stuff. Like that artist is a phenomenon more than just a musician, and so like it's not even worth.
is it one of the is it a situation where the act is the popularity and the
No, the
per
music's good too, but
oh, okay.
the I mean you would not like it, but it's good. those two things can both be true.
For sure. And I can admit, I mean, I can respect that. So the other good one that I have is, I think it's the best country music song um, that I've ever heard.
I've been
Like,
holding my breath the whole time to see if I know this song,
take a
or
guess.
even the artist. No, no, I can't possibly.
You won't know, I don't
Yeah,
think, either. Um, the artist is a guy named Wayne Hancock,
no.
um, and the song is called "Thunderstorms and Neon Signs," and it is brilliant,
What year?
brilliant. It's from the '90s, so he's from Texas, and I forget, like maybe a small town in Texas. Wayne the Train or Wayne the Tank, something like that. He's got a nickname. But he he's from a small town in Texas and has just kind of been under the radar, but
Yeah.
has written just ridiculous. And the players that he has are phenomenal. So it's this. He gets compared to Hank Williams a lot, but that's more because the voice has certain signatures that
Hmm.
are familiar to Hank Williams. But he's a lyricist, and the records have a sound all their own. It's got it's unique. But this song, "Thunderstorms and Neon Signs," I won't read through the lyrics, but it's basically about uh, one of the reasons why it resonates with me is I went with my dad a lot as a kid, and so a lot of what he describes in the songs, in terms of, he's capturing travel, um, by vehicle, he's capturing travel and sort of the familiarity of the lights of hotels, and when you've been traveling through sort of the barren landscape, and then you see the lights of an urban environment or the lights of a hotel, the
Hmm.
feelings that brings. And it's just a brilliant song. It's a brilliant song. I love his voice. He's a true sort of outsider that didn't, I don't think, gets the recognition that he should get. Anyway, you should listen to this song. You should listen to that whole album, actually.
All right, album assignments. I'm gonna listen to Thunderstorms and Neon Signs, and you're gonna listen to Black Messiah.
Black Messiah. This is correct. I will listen, and I'm going to listen to Doja Cat.
Uh,
No,
I mean, I don't put it on. You won't make it far, and no one will blame you. I like it, but I don't listen to it either. There's a lot of music I like and I don't listen to, and that is in the like it when I hear it, but do not ever put it on kind of category. Yeah, we're gonna leave Terry with Doja Cat. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, I'm good.